welcome everybody. Today we have a very special training. I'm super excited to have Nathan Hirsch with us today. He's going to give us a master class on the 11 Ecom bookkeeping mistakes to avoid. Thanks everybody for everyone that pre-submitted their questions. We have a lot of questions today, and then I'm super excited to have Nathan with us. So good afternoon, Nathan. How's it going today?
Yeah, it's going great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited, man. I mean, this topic, it's a very important topic. You know, bookkeeping, knowing your numbers, you know, like Peter Drucker says, whatever gets measured gets managed, right? And a lot of people overlook this. And, you know, we're entering the end of the year, and it's very important to have all your books in order. That's why I'm very excited to have you on today. Just a quick intro of Nathan, for those of you guys that don't know him yet. This guy's a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he and his partner Connor, they created an 8-figure Amazon business some years ago, 25 million on Amazon. Then, you know, they got involved in the whole virtual assistant space with FreeUp and e-commerce and outsource school. And now they're pivoting to this brand new business, Ecom Balance. I'm sure he's going to tell you more about that. So make sure that you guys stay until the end, guys. It's going to be about a 1 hour total training, about 30 minutes, and then followed by Q&A, so he can answer all your questions, leave no stone unturned. And for those of you guys joining in, if just two things. One, if you have any questions, please save them until the end. Is that okay, Nathan, for questions, or would you like them to raise their hand during the presentation?
I'll go after each point. I'll kind of stop and you guys can ask questions, and that tends to work best instead of me just talking for 45 minutes straight, if that works for you.
Definitely, guys. So if you can mute your mics, guys, as you're coming in, just to maintain the sound quality, that'd be great. And other than that, if you like to, I mean, everyone's here live, right? So if you want to turn on your video just to maximize the experience so we can see you, if you have any questions, that'd be great, if you can. All right. So other than that, before we get started, Nathan, who is this training for today?
So I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not a CPA, and I don't pretend to be one. I'm an entrepreneur, and I built really good monthly bookkeeping processes in all my businesses. And I work with a lot of great bookkeepers. I own a bookkeeping service that specializes for e-commerce businesses. But a lot of times I realize that entrepreneurs don't speak bookkeeper and bookkeepers don't speak entrepreneurs. So this presentation is from an entrepreneur's perspective, what you need to know before setting up a good bookkeeping service or good bookkeeping process inside your business. And this is going to help you vet bookkeepers. This is going to help you know what the proper setup with software and tools and banks and all that should look like, while also giving you some just things to look out for when you're hiring an e-commerce bookkeeper opposed to a regular bookkeeper. So that's what we're going to go through today. It should be very easy to understand from an entrepreneur side, but you should leave here with a lot of things to avoid. And these are all mistakes that I've made in the past as well.
Excellent. And also, why is this topic so important today?
So there's two parts of your business that are not the sexiest topics in the world. And that's kind of where I spend my time. So that's hiring and finances. There's lots of people out there teaching you how to source products or go to China or do Amazon PPC or put out content. But if you can't hire and you don't understand your financials, you're only going to get so far as an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of really great entrepreneurs that fail or people with really good ideas that fail because they can't hire well or they don't understand their financials. So that's where I like to focus. We're not going to talk about hiring here. We're going to keep it on the financials, but that's why it's so important.
Absolutely. And for those of you guys just joining us a few minutes late, Nathan is going to walk you through the 11 Ecom bookkeeping mistakes to avoid. Make sure you stick around to the end. There will be a special bonus for everyone today. So without further ado, Nathan, would you like to start the presentation and share your screen?
Yep, I will share my screen. Cool. Can everyone see?
Looks great.
Cool. So I own two bookkeeping services. One is Ecom Balance, that's for e-commerce sellers. The other one is Accounts Balance, that's for non-e-commerce businesses. But this presentation is focused on e-commerce bookkeeping mistakes. So as Gary said, I'm a former Amazon seller. I got started really early, 2008, 2009. Started off doing my own bookkeeping. We'll talk a bit on why you shouldn't do that. But I built that Amazon business using a lot of VAs and freelancers. And most people know me for the marketplace that I started after selling on Amazon called FreeUp, that provided a lot of VAs and freelancers to different e-commerce sellers. And my business partner and I scaled that business to 8 figures. That company was acquired at the end of 2019. And we were able to grow that business because we made good decisions every month based on what the actual numbers were telling us. And we were able to sell that business because we passed due diligence. We had 4 years of immaculate books going back to the first day we started the company. And that's because we hired a great bookkeeper from day one and set up the right systems in place. So I kind of learned a lot from my Amazon business, where I was a young entrepreneur and didn't have good bookkeeping systems. And FreeUp was the time where I did it right from day one. And it helped me not only grow it, but eventually sell it. For those of you that want my hiring process, I own a company called Outsource School. You can check that out. It's where we teach you our exact interview, onboarding, training, and managing process. And I already mentioned the e-commerce business. So that'll be the last time I talk about me. Let's dive right into the common bookkeeping mistakes. So the first mistake you can make is doing the books yourself. Now, in my opinion, entrepreneurs should never do their own bookkeeping for 2 reasons. One, it's not a good use of your time. Your time could be better spent planning, hiring, launching new products, whatever it is that's actually going to move the needle in your business. And second of all, most entrepreneurs are not good at it. I can't tell you how many books we get from entrepreneurs that are just complete messes, complete chaos, and cleanup work always costs more than just doing it right from day one, or catch-up work. So it's not a good use of your time. Now, even if you are, or it's not 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs mess up doing the books when they try to do it themselves and they're not bookkeepers. But even if you are a bookkeeper in a past life before you became an entrepreneur, I would still argue it's not a good use of your time. If you look at any 7, 8-figure business owners, very few of them are doing their own bookkeeping because they know that it doesn't get done right unless a professional does it. And they know that they're not going to be able to scale their business unless they get someone to just do the bookkeeping for them. So even if you're a brand new business, you should factor in bookkeeping as just a necessary business expense. Now, that doesn't mean you need to use me. There's probably cheaper bookkeepers out there that you could maybe start with and then upgrade, but you should have that bookkeeper from day one. Doing the bookkeeping yourself just to save money in the early days almost always backfires and costs you more down the line. And it's also going to hurt your ability to actually make decisions. So that's mistake number 1, is doing it yourself. And I'll pause there if anyone has any questions before I keep going. That's kind of the easy one.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat. And I agree, Nathan. I mean, you got to apply the 80-20 rule. I mean, as entrepreneurs, everyone in this room is, kind of running around like a chicken with their head cut off, taking care of our Amazon business, our families, work, and everything else in our life. So if you 80-20 it, think about what's the number 1 thing that brings the most value to your business. And I highly doubt that bookkeeping is that number 1 thing. So I think that's a great point, number 1, to start out, Nathan. All right.
And another thing to keep in mind, let's say you're launching a brand for the first time. It's brand new business, so there's no revenue. Bookkeepers are relatively inexpensive, especially at that point in your business. So your business is not going to go under because you hired a bookkeeper for 6 months or 12 months. It would go under because you couldn't get products that sell, or there's no market or whatever. So having that bookkeeper, that little extra expense every single month is going to help you so much more when you're able to make better decisions in those early days. And in the early days of your business, be able to focus on the right things, incredibly important, and making the right decisions, incredibly important. So that's what I usually tell new entrepreneurs who want to wait 6 months before they hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah, and we have a comment in the chat from Gord who says finding one is a challenge. And I think, Nathan, that's right up your alley, right? If someone wants to find a bookkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, we had this issue. That's why we kind of created our own service, Ecom Balance, for this, doing a lot of market research. And there's definitely a need for good bookkeepers. So a lot of bookkeepers that are good get built up, get swamped with work and can't take on more clients. Scalability was a big thing we found when we did market research. Knowing e-commerce is obviously a small percentage of them do. That's another issue as well. But yeah, when you find that good bookkeeper, a lot of times they can go business to business. And it's one of those things, like I have a CPA that I've used for 10 plus years. Bookkeepers I've used for multiple businesses. So finding that good bookkeeper is just part of being an entrepreneur.
Excellent. Let's keep going.
Cool. So the next mistake a lot of people make is using their CPA for bookkeeping. So a lot of people put accounting, that's kind of the whole general thing. It all falls under accounting. And there's three parts of accounting. There is your bookkeeper, which should be monthly, and we'll talk about that. Their whole focus is giving you monthly books that you can understand and make decisions on. Now, there's added benefits to good bookkeeping, like there's less stress during tax time because you just pass it over. That you can maybe get an investment, get funding, sell your company. But most people don't sell their business. Most people don't get funding. The real reason to have a bookkeeper in place is to make good decisions every single month based on what the numbers are actually telling you. So bookkeeper is number one. CPA is number two. So if you're in a different country, it's whoever files your taxes. It's not called the CPA, it's called something else, but they're your tax strategists. They're there to save you the most money on taxes, to make sure you're filed correctly, and they will be communicating with your bookkeeper. Again, we'll talk about this in a little bit, to make sure they're both on the same page and your business is set up with the correct entity that makes sense for your particular situation. So you've got your bookkeeper who's doing the monthly bookkeeping. You got your CPA who's doing tax strategy, end of year taxes. And then a lot of times when you get over the $5-10 million mark, you might add that third piece, which is a CFO, which is more for planning and projections. And you can hire a full-time CFO, part-time CFO, outsource CFO. There's a lot of options there. If I'm being completely honest, I've never had a CFO in my companies, even the one that was doing $12 million a year, but there's a lot of people that swear by them. And again, if you have all three of them should be communicating and on the same page at all times. So what a lot of people struggle with is they'll go to their CPA who's very focused on the tax and the strategy, and they'll have their CPA also do the bookkeeping. There's a few problems with that. One, it's one person responsible for everything with no other opinions in there. So it's a lot better to have two minds working together on your business. You're kind of building a little accounting team. Second, it can be more expensive. CPAs cost more than bookkeepers, so you're paying top dollar for that. And third, they're usually not set up to do monthly bookkeeping. They have their own busy seasons. April is a tax date, October's extension date, and it's tough for them to say, boom, month ends, books by the 15th. Month ends, books by the 15th. And that's what you want every single time. And lastly, their job is to do the books in a way to file taxes, which is great and that's accurate. But for you as an entrepreneur, you want to get the books in a way that helps you understand exactly what's going on in your business and make decisions on. And CPAs are not the best people to put the books in that way. So that's my mistake number two, using a tax person for bookkeeping. You want to divide it up. I've divided it up in every business I've ever started, and I'll pause there if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I've made this mistake, and I'm using my CPA as a bookkeeper, and like the reasons that you went through, I've experienced. So this is something that I'm actually talking to Nathan about, hiring someone from his team just to separate that. I think that makes more sense, and you need the better transparency. Like not to put my accountant on the burner, but I mean it wasn't very transparent to make business decisions. So I think that makes a lot of sense, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or raise your hand. If not, let's keep going. This is good stuff.
So the next mistake that I made back in the day, so this was kind of my transgression of figuring out bookkeeping. I was a 20-year-old college kid dropshipping baby products on Amazon. I had done textbooks before. I moved over to dropshipping, and I opened up a QuickBooks account and I tried doing QuickBooks myself. And that was a disaster. I created a huge mess, had to pay to get it redone. Then I hired a college kid, Connor Gillivan, who's now my business partner for 10 years. And his first job with me was doing the QuickBooks. Again, he has no bookkeeping experience, created another mess, had it cleaned up. Then I went to my accountant and I said, hey, I'm just going to dump my books on you at the end of the year and I'll pay you a fixed amount and you do it all for taxes before April. Not only was it very tough for him to do it all in once, but it didn't let me make decisions I needed to make because I didn't really know what my numbers were. I was just dumping it over at the end of the year. Then I tried to save money and do it quarterly and found a really good bookkeeper, saved a little bit of money there. But again, the same issue. I couldn't make decisions every single month. So the optimal thing is the month ends within 10 to 15 days, you get an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow for your business. And that's when you make decisions, which we'll talk about in a little bit, on what to do with your company. Are you hiring more people? Are you launching a new brand? Are you turning off Amazon Europe? That's when you make those decisions. So you can do it more frequently. You can have tools that get you reports weekly or whatever it is, but the frequency should be monthly. Most successful entrepreneurs I know have a monthly bookkeeping process in place. Quarterly or every 6 months is just not enough. I'll pause there if anyone has any questions. If not, I'll keep going. Cool. Let's keep going. So let's talk about the tools. So there's two main bookkeeping softwares, and that's QuickBooks and that's Xero. And QuickBooks has two versions of it, QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Desktop, unless you have someone actually going to your office and doing the bookkeeping, you don't want QuickBooks Desktop. QuickBooks Online has an online fee or a monthly fee. Xero has a monthly fee. It's pretty cheap. There's no way around it. And there are tools out there that are free. They are free for a reason. They only get you so far. And one way or another, as your business grows, you're going to need to get onto QuickBooks and Xero, and moving a lot of data from one tool to the other is always a complete pain. So pick one. Everyone has a preference. Some people hate QuickBooks. Some people hate Xero. Pick either one and stick with it. Don't get tempted by free tools. Don't get tempted by other people that are trying to get into the space. I remember GoDaddy bookkeeping was a big thing. Everyone got in there. GoDaddy decided to shut down their bookkeeping business or their bookkeeping software, and everyone there had to scramble around and get their data off and move it over. Use one of the big two. In 20 years, QuickBooks and Xero will still be around, and they're always adding features. And that's what most bookkeepers use. Keep in mind, there might be a point in your life or in your business where you have to change bookkeepers. And if you're on the two most popular softwares, that's going to make that experience way, way easier than trying to find a bookkeeper that uses your exact micro software that no one uses. There's also a company out there called Bench that uses their own software, and they're probably on the cheaper side. They also do cash and not accrual, which we'll talk about, and they have some other downsides. But the main thing is you're just using their software. So if you ever want to get off their platform and hire another bookkeeper, all your stuff is on their system, and you're going to have to get someone to build it from scratch with QuickBooks Online or Xero. So save yourself a lot of hassle. Use QuickBooks or Xero, and then if you're an e-commerce seller, which I'm assuming all of you are, you need a connecting tool to these platforms. These platforms going directly from Amazon to QuickBooks or Shopify to QuickBooks, or even some add-on tools inside QuickBooks to go to Shopify. We did a lot of testing when we started Ecom Balance. And for whatever reason, A2X is by far the best software. It's not the cheapest, but we actually require it for all our clients. It's included in our monthly fee. We have a partnership with them. And if you want your sales numbers to match the marketplace reports and reconcile and have a good understanding of your fees, A2X is the way to go. There's some other players in the space like ConnectBooks and that have their own pros and cons. For us as a bookkeeping service, we want a tool that works on a lot of marketplaces, because let's say you open up on another marketplace, you don't want to have to use two different connecting tools. You want it all in one place. Has the least amount of bugs, obviously important. Great customer service, because that's really key when it's your numbers and time is of the essence. And obviously accurate data is incredibly important too. So that's what we judge it on. And that's the setup that you should have, either QuickBooks Online or Xero, and a connecting tool like A2X. Now, there's also the right setup when it comes to your banks and your credit cards. A big thing is, first of all, you should never intermingle personal and business. You shouldn't have like a credit card that you're buying groceries on and office expenses for. But even outside of that, you should use a business checking account, a business credit card. You'll see people that will use a personal checking account only for business, and legally that's fine. You're not going to get in trouble. But the issue with that is personal accounts don't allow view-only access. So when your bookkeeper is trying to get the statements, you're going to have to download them every single month and give them to your bookkeeper, and that's going to waste a lot of your time. It's not the most efficient way. You also want to work with banks that allow view-only access. There's some banks that don't. And again, if you work with a bank that allows view-only access or doesn't allow view-only access, you're going to have to download statements every single month. The other thing to keep in mind is less is more. I know profit first is a big thing. I personally never been a fan of it, but you don't need 10 bank accounts to run your business. You probably don't need 8 credit cards. Have as few as possible. If you need 2 credit cards, do it. Come up with a good credit card system so that, let's say, inventory goes on one credit card and other expenses go on the other. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward, create a good, simple process. That's going to save you bookkeeping time, your bookkeeper's bookkeeping time. It's overall going to save you money in the long term. Simpler is always better there. Make sure you use banks that allow view-only access so you save your own time, because your time is the most valuable, and make sure you're using the right software. I will pause there in case anyone has any questions. Also, I see a little delay. I just want to make sure you guys are good.
Yeah. It's fine on my side. If anyone else has any issues with the delay, please let us know. But for me, it's okay. And Nathan, we had a couple of pre-submitted questions related to this. So One person asked, I use A2X and Xero. So do I need a bookkeeper?
Yeah. So, I mean, Xero is the software and A2X is a connecting tool. So you still need someone to actually do the bookkeeping in there. And my advice is to not go into Xero and start reconciling things and categorizing transactions.
Okay. And another person asked about free apps. I would like a free app that you recommend to use for bookkeeping. Thank you. What would you say to that?
I do not recommend using a free app. They're free for a reason. They'll only get you so far. Most people.
Okay, there was a little bit of delay there, but I think you said you don't recommend. Okay, Nathan, can you still hear us? Okay. Kyle asked, is A2X like WebGility?
No, so we're going to talk about other tools in a moment. Okay. Hey, can you hear me? Yes. Test. All right, yes, cool. Okay, sorry, my charger is not charging, and I think that's what's making it work. Yeah, it's not like WebGility. We're actually going to talk about other tools like that in a second. And those tools have a purpose, but they don't replace A2X and they don't replace your bookkeeping.
Okay, excellent. And another pre-submitted question. I don't know if you'll be covering multi-currency sellers, like international sellers. Someone asked, business based in France, is it essential to work with accounting software that has multi-currency feature? I've researched but not found. QuickBooks Online has it, but not for France-based business. If not possible, how to handle multi-currency in the books?
Yeah, every situation is different. I'm surprised to hear that QuickBooks Online doesn't do that. But I mean, Xero should. Like, one of the two should have your solution. And that might be a question to ask your CPA or your tax person, because if you work with a tax person in France, which you should be doing, a tax person in France, which you should be doing if you're in France, they should know what software is going to have that multi-currency.
Okay, excellent. All right, so those are all the questions for now. Let's keep going.
Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to get my charger to work. It's not.
Okay, we just lost your video, by the way. I don't know if you turned off your video.
I was unplugging and stuff. Sorry, Gary. All right, we're back. All right, so having your books on cash basis instead of accrual. So there's 2 types of bookkeeping. Sorry, let me go back there. So there's 2 types of ways to do bookkeeping.
So did we just lose Nathan? Okay, let's give him a minute to come back. And I see we have some comments in the chat while we're waiting for him to come back. Going back to the earlier question, Julie says, no, they don't. And Gord says, QuickBooks Online does it. You need the next level of plan. And then Kimberly says, I have previously used QuickBooks Online, and it required a higher plan to get multi-currency. I'm using your Zero now, and it has multi-currency
Hey, Gary, can you hear me?
functionality. Yes, Nathan, I hear you. On your phone.
Sorry, my laptop just died on me. So that's what was causing all the delays and stuff. I apologize for that. If you guys can hear me okay, I'll keep going. That was just some poorly timed technical difficulties.
Yes, I hear you fine. Let's keep going.
Cool. So you got cash and accrual basis. Those are the two types of bookkeeping that you should just be aware of as an entrepreneur. So cash basis is relatively straightforward. Cash basis means that anytime you charge your credit card or anytime that some money goes in and out of your bank account, that's when it appears on your books. Okay. So cash basis is pretty straightforward. When I ran Free Up, it's good for businesses like that because you have money that you're not owing people money. You're not on net 90 terms. You're not getting paid 60 days later. Cash is going in and going out relative to when it makes sense from a business standpoint. The next thing is accrual basis. Accrual basis is much more complicated. And it essentially means when you get into the agreement, that's when it hits your bank account. So if I agree to coach you over the next 90 days, even if you pay me today or you pay me at the end of the 90 days, that's going to be spread out over those 90 days. And it kind of works the same way for inventory. So if you're doing cash basis, you might buy a lot of inventory in January, and that's going to show up as a big expense in January. But then that doesn't really show you anything because January is going to look like a big loss. April or February, March, April might look like a big gain. But again, that doesn't really help you make decisions on your business. Accrual basis, you would take that inventory and you would either show up when you sold it or you would average it out over those months. And that's going to give you a much more accurate picture of how your business is doing. Now, there's people in the e-commerce space that say, hey, if you're an e-commerce business, you always need to be accrual. That's not 100% true. There are a lot of benefits to being accrual, but a lot of those benefits are when you go to sell your company, you can get a better multiple there, and it gives you a better idea of how your business is doing, but it's not cut and dry. You might have a CPA that says, hey, you should be on cash basis for the first 2 years and then move over to accrual later. Or they might say, hey, it's better for you tax-wise to stay on cash for whatever reason. So it's important that you meet with a CPA and discuss that, but just know that there's two different ways. There's cash and accrual. And a lot of people say, as you get bigger as an e-commerce business, accrual is going to get you a higher multiple and help you make decisions. Cool. You have the presentation. Thank you. I'm also trying to get my laptop back up. So kind of doing both at the same time here. Any questions on cash or accrual?
I think we're good. Can you guys see the screen okay? I'm sharing on my side while Nathan's getting his laptop back up. Can you guys see it okay? Good. Thumbs up. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's keep going.
Cool. So the next thing is having the top line of your income statement, the net that goes into your bank account. So this is one of the quickest ways you can tell if a bookkeeper understands e-commerce. Most of the time they'll just take all the money that goes in your bank account and that will appear on the top line of your income statement. That money, that is not revenue. Okay. The way that Amazon sales works is there's Amazon sales, that's your top line. And then there's fees, there's refunds, there's stuff underneath that. So you want to make sure that the actual marketplace reports you get from Amazon, Shopify, whatever it is, match up with the top line of your income statement. And then there should be the fees and returns and stuff underneath it. And then that net income there is going to match what's deposited in your bank account. And that's what's important for reconciling. So that's why you need tools like A2X to get that right. It's very tough to get all the fees and everything in there without A2X. And it's just a quick way to make sure that the bookkeeper that you hire understands e-commerce. Any
Nathan,
questions there before I keep going?
We had a earlier comment from Victor who said Final Loop is also an all-in-one bookkeeping service that also tracks inventory, etc., for Amazon sellers. Any thoughts on that? Final Loop.
Actually, I'm not familiar with them, so I have no comment.
Okay, no worries. All right, any other questions, comments, guys, before we move on? We're good?
Cool. I am glad that this is working. My laptop also seems to be taking the charger now, so I might be able to switch into that after a few numbers, but glad we were able to have a little makeshift approach. On to number 7, if you could move the slide, please, Gary. Cool. So in order to make accurate decisions with your e-commerce business, you need to segment it. And that means that you want to know how much money, how much sales you're making for each brand, each SKU, and each marketplace. There are a lot of e-commerce sellers that are wasting time going to Amazon Europe or Amazon Japan, or they have a Shopify store, but they're actually losing money. Or they are selling 5 products, but only 4 of them are profitable. These are things you would not know unless you segment your book. So you want to work with an e-commerce bookkeeping service that's able to segment. It's just like if you guys had an Amazon agency and you offer different services, you'd want to know, are you making more money on PPC services or listing services? In every business that I've ever run, I've tried to segment it because that's what's going to help you actually make decisions each and every month. Any questions there before we keep going?
Looks like we're good.
Cool. On to number 8. So the next mistake that entrepreneurs make is only caring about their P&L. So there's 3 main reports that you're going to get as an entrepreneur. And learning how to read these reports is incredibly important just in life. It's good for starting your own business. It's good for investing in other businesses. It's good for investing in the stock market for those of you that have a 401k or you're retiring or for your retirement. You want to make sure you understand how to read all 3 of these. Income statement is the easiest one, revenue minus expenses. Most people understand that, but it's very important you get familiar with the other 2. And there's 2 kind of ways to do this. You can take a course or go out, you can go to school for accounting. You can read blogs about it. There's a million blogs about how to read each one. You can find them on the Ecom Balance blog. If you go to ecombalance.com/blog. The other way is to just look at them every single month. Go line by line, ask your bookkeepers questions. And if you have a good monthly bookkeeping process, which is what I'm preaching throughout this entire time, you're going to be looking at these reports every single month. And it might take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, but you're going to be able to understand all 3 of these. So if you think of like P&L is going to show you how much money you're actually making each month, profit, which is important, or are you losing money? Balance sheet is going to show you at that specific time how healthy your business is. What are your assets? What are your debts, your liabilities? And that's going to give you like a snapshot of your health. And then you've got the cash flow statement, which is going to show you how cash flow positive or negative you are. There are a lot of e-commerce businesses that go out of business, not because they're unprofitable, but because they run out of cash. And that's going to tell you whether you need funding, investments. I have a client who runs a service that's for college kids, or he runs a e-commerce business that's for college kids. So during the summer, he's incredibly slow. There's no one to sell to, and he needs to make sure he has enough cash to pay payroll throughout the summer. And he doesn't want to be firing people and hiring at the beginning and end of every busy season. So cash flow becomes incredibly important. And that's just one of many reasons why you should be looking at all 3 of these. So make sure that you're looking at not just the income statement, but also the balance sheet and the cash flow. We have clients who, when we send them their monthly reports, they only look at the income statement and nothing else. Get into the habit of looking at all 3, and that's going to make you better at them over time. Any questions there before I keep going?
Yeah, we had a couple of pre-submitted questions. How do I start finding the numbers I need and understanding what I need? What reports should I be checking or looking for on Seller Central? Such a newbie and just doing enough to break even. And another person had a similar question: which reports to use from Amazon to monitor all Amazon expenses?
So my bookkeeping answer is don't use, it's not that you don't use any Amazon report, but that's just not the reports that you should be using to see how profitable your business is, or what your expenses are. You should be, and this is kind of my exact point of this statement, you should be making 95% or more of your decisions and understanding 95% more of your business from these three statements: the P&L, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. That's where you get most of your information. Sales reports are nice. Amazon reports are nice. You can look at them. They'll give you little bits of data. But if you want the real picture of how you're doing every single month, you have to look at these three statements.
All right. Any other questions? If not, let's move on. Let's keep going.
Cool. Number 9. I'm actually logging into Zoom on my computer because I think it is working. So this brings me to tools. So there's lots of tools out there. There's some tools that help you calculate Amazon profit. There's different stuff like that. Nice. All right. Gary, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. I'm back on my computer. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So
all right.
Let's keep you sharing screen just to, if that's all right, just to keep it
that's fine.
We're almost done.
That's fine. Yeah.
Cool. So there's tools that are going to help you get information. They're great add-ons. They should be they should be looked at as add-ons. Make sure that you are still getting the 3 reports: the P&L, the income statement, and the balance sheet. Other tools that you want to use to track sales or projections or different KPIs inside of Amazon, those are great, but you should never think that you're making a certain profit just based on those tools. If you go to sell your business, they're not going to accept just those tools, that you're going to need those 3 statements. So make sure that you're following those and not the tools. The tools don't replace a 2X. We have some clients who want to use one or the other. They should be looked at as add-ons. They can give you valuable insight into your business, but they're not there to replace monthly bookkeeping. Any questions there before we keep going?
We had a question about kind of like the monthly cadence, or what is the cadence between, like your bookkeeper, talking to your bookkeeper. I think, just like what would be like the SOP for this?
Yeah, actually, I think if you go to the next one, that is, yeah, there's 2 more. They kind of go together. So then this kind of answers your questions. So this is how the process should work. The month should end by the 10th or the 15th. You should get an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow like we talked about. You should also have a meeting on your calendar. That is your finance meeting. You do not miss it for any reason. Your business partners are there, your executives or team leaders might be there, and that's where you make all decisions every single month. You don't just make them on the whim. You don't just look at your Amazon sales. You get the reports, you have a meeting, you decide, am I hiring more people? Am I launching a new brand? Am I spending more on PPC? Am I hiring that agency? That's where all those decisions are made. And number 11, I'm going to give you a monthly finance agenda. Now, usually every quarter, every 6 months, the CPAs and the bookkeepers should be in contact with each other. They should communicate. This also comes into play if, let's say, you're going to sell your business, they should be communicating more. If you set up a new tax strategy, they should be communicating more. But like my bookkeeper and my CPA probably talk every quarter and maybe skip a quarter. So maybe 3 quarters out of the 4 quarters in the year, they're communicating and always on the same page. So that should be your monthly cadence. Now, you're paying for QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Online or Xero and a 2X each month. Hopefully your bookkeeper has view-only access to your banks and your credit cards, so they can just pull that stuff. If not, you're going to have to download the statement and send it to them. And you're also going to have to provide them the cost of your products to plug into a 2X. But that's what the monthly cadence should look like.
Excellent. Any questions on that, guys? I know there's a lot of nitty gritty when it comes to that, like on the back and forth. We had a similar, like a related question, Nathan. Different retail costs and sales. Is there an easy way to calculate expenses and profits for various products when they have different retail costs and sales numbers?
For like wholesale?
I'm not sure. Different retail costs and sales. Maybe it's multi-platform. I'm not sure. That's what they said.
Yeah. So the real answer is this is where every business is a little bit customized because everyone buys from different vendors, different places, has different inventory processes. And there's a difference between inventory tracking and bookkeeping. And a lot of times as bookkeepers, we're just taking the numbers from whatever your inventory tracking service is or software is. And you really need to sit down to create a process to get those numbers consistently every single month. Now, if you have a supplier, one supplier for your two products, it becomes pretty simple. As you get more suppliers, different products, different brands, it becomes more complex. But the real answer is we have a kickoff call with all of our clients before we start their bookkeeping. And that's when we go through how we're going to get cost numbers and what the process is for their particular situation.
All right. Sounds good. Let's keep going.
Cool. Yeah. So last thing we kind of talked about, so that monthly agenda, for anyone that wants to grab the agenda, there's actually a better link. If you go to ecombalance.com/agenda, I made a shorter one for you. You should be able to grab that. And that's the same meeting that Connor and I have had every month for the past 6 years. It hasn't changed. We go through our expenses line by line. We go through each report. We make decisions. We make hiring decisions, strategic decisions. That's what you should be doing every single month. And that's what a good monthly bookkeeping process looks like.
All right. I'll drop that link in the chat in a minute, guys. Any questions on that? Or do you have that, Nathan?
Agenda. Yep. Just
There you go. Okay. So that's the monthly meeting agenda that, like what exactly is that?
Yeah, so it walks you through what you want to look for in the P&L, in the balance sheet, and in the cash flow, because there's certain things that are more important than others. It also goes through questions that you should be asking with your business partner or with your team leader or just yourself if you're solo.
Okay. Yeah, that's useful. I mean, that way you have a game plan, what to talk about, right? If you're, meeting with them. So thanks for that. Should we keep going?
Yeah, so that's actually it. That's my 11 common mistakes of outsourcing, of e-commerce bookkeeping. To kind of run through them again, it's doing bookkeeping yourself, using a CPA for bookkeeping, doing books yearly or quarterly instead of monthly, not using the right tools. We talked about QuickBooks Online and Xero and A2X, and having the right business bank accounts, business credit cards that allow view-only access. Having your books on cash basis instead of accrual, although you should talk to your CPA about that. And one thing I forgot to add there is a lot of the brokers in the space, they want your books in accrual. They know that that's how you get the better multiple. Number 6, having top line of your income statement, the net of your bank account. That's not correct. We talked about not segmenting your books. That's number 7. Number 8 is only caring about your income statement, your P&L, instead of the balance sheet and cash flow. Number 9 is using a tool and thinking it replaces monthly bookkeeping. It should be looked at as an add-on. Number 10 is not letting your bookkeeper and CPA communicate. I remember when we first started Ecom Balance, we had clients who wouldn't let us talk to their CPA, and we thought that was absolutely crazy. Now during onboarding, we get their tax person's contact information, so we're always on the same page. And lastly is not meeting monthly to review your books. And if you go to ecombalance.com, you can ecombalance.com/agenda, you can grab our monthly agenda.
All right. And I see there's a couple of questions in the chat, and before we get to that, I just want to make sure everyone knows about the special offer that Nathan has provided for everyone today. So I believe it's 2 months free for Ecom Balance. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so Ecom Balance is a monthly bookkeeping service. The way it works is you create an account on our site, you answer a few questions about your business, and you give us access to your books. If you don't have books yet, you can just give us a few marketplace and credit card statements. Within a day, we'll get you a price. That quote is 2 things: a fixed price for any kind of setup, catch-up, cleanup, depending on where your books are at, and a monthly cost of a fixed monthly price of what your books would be going forward. We charge you on the 1st, you get your books by the 15th every single month. And with Gary's offer, your first 2 months would be free on me or on Gary. Yeah, that's kind of the offer there. We don't do tax, or I'm happy to recommend my CPA if anyone wants to reach out to me. I don't get referral money or anything. I've just used him for 10 years and he knows e-commerce and helped me sell a company. So I like him. And yeah, that's that's a Ecom Balance service. Also, to answer these questions, yes, A2X allows you to segment by SKU, and reconciling Amazon inventory. Again, we don't offer like Amazon like tracking services or anything like that, but we use A2X to get cost of goods sold. Would you talk to CPA
in other countries?
Yeah. So bookkeeping's bookkeeping. That's kind of the beauty. So we have clients all over the world. From our side, it's very similar. There's a few caveats for a few different places, but that's why we would want to be in contact with a tax person that's in your country so that they can help us and make sure that we're doing those specific things correctly. But we have clients all over the world.
Excellent. Nathan, how can people redeem this special offer, the 2 months free? What's the best place for them to go to? Because I know that you have a Calendly link, or is there a different URL that you want them to go to?
Yeah. So if you go to ecombalance.com and create an account, then you could just put Gary's name and I'll make sure you get the 2 free months. Gary will also have a special link for you. And Annette, yes, we do reconcile inventory. I'm not a bookkeeper, so I cannot give you the exact process for that, but we are happy to answer any questions you have. If you want to shoot me an email, nathan@ecombalance.com, and I'll get you more specific answers.
Excellent. So the URL again is ecombalance.com. I dropped it in the chat, and you'll have 2 months for free. And just to let you know, I am an affiliate for Ecom Balance. I do believe that they provide a good service for Amazon sellers because most bookkeepers aren't that familiar with the whole process. So I think you can get a lot of help. If you do redeem the offer, then I will get a small commission. It helps to pay for my coffee. I need some coffee to keep me going these long days and nights, guys. So thanks for that. Any other questions, guys, before we close out? I know we still have some pre-submitted questions. I'll try to get to them as much as I can, and I will stop the screen share first so we can see our handsome and beautiful faces. Okay. All right, let me just quickly go through the pre-submitted questions. We had a lot of questions. There was one very interesting question I had, and maybe Nathan, you're the right person to ask for this. What do 8-figure sellers do that 7-figure sellers should do, but maybe don't know to do?
I mean, they focus on what they're really good at and they delegate everything else to other people that are way better than them. That's kind of the short answer, but it's the same thing, whether it's their bookkeeping, their PPC, their listing products, their sourcing products. Most entrepreneurs are only really good at 1 or 2 things. And when you start doing lots of different things, you kind of get in the habit of doing a bunch of things mediocre and don't realize there's a lot of people out there that are better than you. So I'm a big proponent of delegating. One of the reasons I love working with Connor is we have opposite skills and we also know what we're both bad at and what to hire for there. So that's kind of my overall tip.
Excellent. I'm curious, when you started working with Connor, you said back in college, you hired him first. What made you decide to make him a business partner rather than just like an employee?
He was an employee. So Connor, the first day of him working for me, he called me. He said, "By the way, I don't have a car. Can you come pick me up?" And I was like, "Who is this guy?" And for whatever reason, I did. And in those car rides, it was really cool because I got to know him. We talked business, we talked life, we talked goals, and we realized that we had a lot of the same values and the same ambition. So over time, we crushed the Amazon business together, and we built a lot of trust. And when we started Free Up, we became partners on it. And yeah, the rest is history. I actually remember there was a point of Free Up. So when we stopped Amazon, I was focused 100% on Free Up. Connor was working on a few different things, and he was like part-time on Free Up. And he asked to meet me at a coffee shop. And I told my wife, I said, "I think he's going to quit on me. I think he's going to do something else." And instead of the coffee shop, he's like, "Hey, I'm all in on Free Up. I love this." And he dropped the other stuff, worked on Free Up, and the rest is history. And we've been working together ever since.
Excellent. I think that's a gift that you have. I mean, finding someone that's on the same page and being able to, rely on them and they can, help you as well. I think that's awesome. That's something I've struggled with. I'm still looking for that partner, business partner, but that's excellent. All right. So we still have a couple minutes left. Do you still have time, Nathan, or do you have to run? We still have some pre-submitted
No,
questions.
I'm
if you have
here.
time.
If you guys have questions, I'm
Okay.
here to answer them.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, I think this is a golden opportunity to ask Nathan about bookkeeping or entrepreneurship. And also, like he runs a virtual assistant outsource school service as well. We feature him as well. I'm just looking at some of the pre-submitted questions. Saving on taxes. Okay, how to make this attractive to a buyer, but also save on taxes. I mean, from the bookkeeping.
I can't answer any tax questions, and every situation is unique. One thing to keep in mind, like selling to a buyer, clean books are important. They build a lot of trust. I remember that initial call we had with the free up buyers. They asked us a lot of questions about the finance of our business. And then they got into the books a few weeks later, and everything we told them on the phone matched exactly what was in our books, because we had those monthly meetings every single month. And that built a lot of trust. I can't tell you how many times someone tells how great their business is, and then the buyer goes into it and they look at the numbers and they don't match what that phone call was like. So that's key. Accrual is key. Knowing your numbers and your margins is key. And you also want to sell your business when it's in an upward trajectory, obviously not going down, but more importantly, not stagnant. You want to sell your business while it's going up before it just stags out.
Yes, it's great advice. Question from Vicky. Hi, Gary and Nathan. I'm just starting out. So how long will the 2 months trial last for? Thanks.
It lasts for 2 months. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
I think she means like, if she's not getting started yet, maybe she's getting started a few months down the road. Like how long is the promotion good for?
Got it.
I mean, does it
Yeah.
expire?
I'm not going anywhere. Feel free to hit me up anytime.
Okay, excellent. Joyce asks, when you calculate COGS, do you include all freight charges, including late invoices for demurrage or drop fees?
Yeah, that's a bookkeeping question. I believe all that is included, but so the IRS has specific rules on what is and what is not COGS. So the real answer is we follow those rules, and that's a bookkeeper can probably give you a much more specific answer than that.
Okay, excellent. Pre-submitted question: what are the most overlooked aspects of e-commerce bookkeeping?
I think I went through a lot of them. I mean, doing accrual comes into play more when in e-commerce, using like A2X and that connecting tool. So the top line and all the fees are correct. Inventory is obviously a big piece of it, and cost of goods. A lot of the stuff we talked about.
Okay, excellent. Bookkeeping, do you have a budget monthly cost that people can budget for?
Our minimum is $249. That's just our minimum. We have some clients who pay $2,000 a month. It's a factor of how many marketplaces are on, how many accounts you have, number of transactions, and just the overall complexity of your business. So it's a custom number that we custom price everyone.
Okay. Talking about VAs, where can you get a good VA to create some of the reports needed and keep transactions up to date?
I would not hire a VA to do your bookkeeping. I would hire a bookkeeper to do your bookkeeping. You can hire a bookkeeper in the Philippines to do your bookkeeping, but make sure they're a bookkeeper, not a virtual assistant. And I mean, check out FreeUp. They have bookkeepers there. Onlinejobs.ph, Upwork, the normal places. But remember, you're not looking for a VA. You're looking for someone with extensive e-commerce bookkeeping experience.
Good advice. All right. I think those were most of the questions that we talked about today. Any other questions before we go, guys? So we covered the 11 top econ bookkeeping mistakes, and Nathan also provided 2 bonuses for you guys. One is the agenda for the meeting. Sorry, I'm botching it. Can you recap again for us, Nathan, the 2 bonuses you're offering?
Yeah, so you get the monthly meeting agenda if you go to ecombalance.com/agenda, and you can, if you sign up for us or if you get a pricing quote and decide to go forward with us, you get 2 free months of bookkeeping.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate your time today, Nathan, and this super valuable training about all of the insights related to ecom bookkeeping. Definitely check out Ecom Balance if you'd like to get some help. I think for me, the big takeaway is you got to hire a bookkeeper to do this. I mean, we shouldn't be spending our valuable time on that. So thanks again. Nathan, one last question. For people that want to learn more just about bookkeeping and accounting, is there any book or is there something you recommend so people can get smart about this?
So I strongly recommend against like taking a bookkeeping course. Like you should not learn how to do QuickBooks. You should not learn how to do Xero. Should not learn how to reconcile a bank account. Those are not useful entrepreneur skills. You should learn how to read an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. That's incredibly important, but you should hire a bookkeeper that knows that stuff. Like when we were doing market research on Ecom balance, we found it crazy that bookkeeping services had YouTube videos like teaching entrepreneurs how to do bookkeeping. That doesn't make any sense. Entrepreneurs don't need to know how to do the actual bookkeeping. They do need to be able to know their business and the reports and see when stuff doesn't make sense and vet a bookkeeper and avoid the mistakes we talked about, but they don't need to actually know how to do bookkeeping.
So what about learning to read an income statement and balance sheet and P&L? How do people get smart about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, two ways. One, look at your own every single month and ask your bookkeeper questions. And two, there's a billion articles out there that explain the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow, as well as YouTube videos. And they're all like the basics of it are pretty straightforward. And then you get better at it over time.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. All right. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much. And if you have any follow-up questions, definitely follow up with Nathan. And good luck, guys, and have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys. And thanks for bearing with me on the technical difficulties. I feel like I just held it together there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for. So we had everything all set. So thanks so much.
Cool. Bye, guys.